Despite their utter contempt for my accomplishments, I made an effort to excel in school. My grandparents' limited attempts to intervene and remind my parents of my accomplishments were received with silence or plain disdain. They would push my parents to express their happiness or gratitude for me, but they either disregarded or scoffed, as if my accomplishments were unimportant. It stung so much to see how little they cared, especially given how they handled Jackson. Jackson never did well academically. He struggled in school and frequently got into trouble. He would bring home low grades, and his teachers would occasionally call home to discuss his behavior. But none of this seemed to bother my parents. They never held Jackson responsible for his lack of effort, and they certainly did not chastise him. If he ever managed to score even nearly average on a test or accomplish something minor, my parents would praise it as if it were a monumental feat. They would order pizza or take us out to his favorite restaurant, making it a huge family outing. When I finally finished high school and was accepted to college, I was fortunate to receive a partial scholarship. Even though it paid some of the fees, I was concerned about how I would handle the remaining bills. At the time, I asked my parents if they had set up a college fund for me. Part of me knew the answer, yet I felt compelled to inquire. As expected, they promptly informed me that all of the money they were saving was for Jackson. They stated he was the youngest and would need to be cared for in the future. My father openly informed me that as the oldest, I needed to learn to take care of myself. He did offer to assist me in applying for an education loan, which I would then be responsible for repaying once I found work. It was quite painful to learn that my own parents continued to disregard me. While most parents are delighted and proud to assist their children in their transition into adulthood, mine were practically telling me I was on my own. Fortunately, my grandparents saw this coming long before I did. They had been quietly planning for my future and had secretly established a trust fund for me years before. When they finally revealed this to me and told me that I didn't have to worry about college, I was completely surprised. I couldn't believe someone cared enough to do this for me. I cried with excitement because, for the first time, I felt truly supported. It was surreal. No one had ever gone to such lengths to protect me. My grandparents not only saw my talent, but they also took steps to ensure that I could attend college without financial constraints. However, when my parents learned about the trust fund that my grandparents had established for me, they did not share my excitement or relief. Instead of being delighted for me, they immediately turned the subject to Jackson. Their first query to my grandparents was if they had also established a trust fund for Jackson. My grandfather gently explained that they had intentionally chosen to care for me because my parents had always favored Jackson. They indicated that they had witnessed for years how I had been disregarded and wanted to give me a fair shot to thrive without being held back. Naturally, this did not sit well with my folks. They felt it as unfair and quickly got into a furious dispute with my grandparents about how both grandchildren should be treated equally. They accused my grandparents of favoritism and demanded that Jackson, as the youngest member of the family, deserved his share of the money. They couldn't believe my grandparents had chosen to help me because they saw how neglected I had been all these years. My parents seemed to be unaware that they had spent Jackson's entire life treating him as if he were the center of the universe.